Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide and creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. You can't reach your goals on your own, you need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into the special topic. And today we're talking about creative endeavors. So yes, I have found yet another way to bring creativity into the conversation. As from previous conversations, we know that we want to bring creativity into our lives, but what if the endeavor is creative in nature? So I have a wonderful panel for you today. And if you're joining us live for GoalChat Live, thank you. If you're watching the replay, wonderful. And perhaps you are listening and or watching us as the GoalChat podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network. No matter how you found us, we are glad you're here. And today, talking about creative endeavors. And we've got Ella Glasgow from Beyond Virtual Events. And Ella and I was just on her show. She's been on before. We were one of those, Deb, you and Ella need to be friends. And the person who introduced us was right. So glad to have you back here. Jessica Kupferman, who's one of the founders of She Podcast. And we've known each other for years. And I saw you live and in person, which I cannot say about my other two guests, years ago at Social Media Marketing Worlds. Remember? Like at least 8-9 years. It's been a while.
I missed the first part of that. Where was it?
We met at Social Media Marketing World. You were speaking.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago.
That was like,
I want to say 16 or 18.
I'm gonna say, I think it because it was the last one that I worked for them, but it was one of the things because I knew you from She Podcast, and I said I know you, and this is how you become friends with people when you connect online, and then now it's really normal to connect with people online and then meet in person. But back then it was a lot of back and forthsies.
It was like magical.
Oh, it was awesome. And I was saying before we went live, I hadn't seen Jess in forever. So what do? I invite her on the show. So I'm really excited to have you join in the conversation. We also have with us Chari Pere, and Chari, cartoonist and illustrator extraordinaire. And who actually inspired the panel the last time she was on talking about creativity. We have got such awesome jam-packed goodness today, but let's have you all introduce yourselves better, because all people know right now is that you're awesome, which is also true. But yes, let's give them a few more of the deets. So Ella, welcome. Good to have you here.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back and talking about all the goodness we're going to be talking about today. But my name is Ella Glasgow, and I am the owner of Beyond Virtual Events, where I say that there should be no more boring events in 2024, and this 2024 needs to be done. So I help my clients to get their audiences engaged during their virtual events and keep them engaged for the entire time, so they don't end up saying things like, I hate this event. They end up saying, I love it. Can we do it again?
And you also have, I'm sure this will shock no one, a background in performance. So can you give a little bit of that backstory as well?
You want that backstory? Well, I was born. No, I'm kidding. I do have a background in performance, and I spent over 20 years on the professional stage. I still do it from time to time, but at this point now, I like to say that I no longer kick my face. That people can dance around me. I've paid my dues. So.
Well, it's always nice to have you here, and thank you for joining in the conversation. Jessica.
Hello, how are you?
Hi. Good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
So please share who you are and why you're so awesome. Or just
sorry,
I said that.
My name is Jessica Kupferman. I am the CEO and co-founder of She Podcast, which is the largest women's podcasting community online. Globally, we have 21,000 women in the free Facebook group. And we had been doing live events. Well, we started out just doing, being like support, and then did some membership stuff, did live events through the pandemic, and now we are working on a new top secret project. And I also am going to start doing some content creating on my own separately. So lots of creative things happening.
Fun. And She Podcast has been around a while because before this was GoalChat / formerly the Deb Show podcast, this was the Guided Goals podcast from 2015 to 2016. Then I put a pin in it because my second book, Write on Blogging, was never going to get finished with me doing a podcast every week. This is how we met, is I was a member of your group that was recommended.
right.
So you've been helping people for a while, and it's always, I think, especially for creatives like us who have, as we say in California or LA, multiple projects at various stages of development, it's especially exciting when we can put on our hat with us as the client and prioritize our own goals and what we want to get off in the world. So
I've literally never done it before, so I'm very excited.
well, I am excited to see what comes from that, and really good to have you here. Chari.
Hey everyone. So I'm Chari Pere. I have been doing cartooning a long time now. More recently, I've used it for marketing and advertising. I had worked with clients like Red Bull and Disney and FIFA. I currently consult for the organization Tiny Windows Consulting, and I am a fellowship for the Jewish Writers Initiative Digital Storytellers Lab, where I'm taking some comics that I've done about very light topics like miscarriages and things related to pregnancy and childbirth that aren't discussed. And I'm turning my comics that have existed and future comics into animated shorts.
That is beyond exciting, beyond virtual events, beyond exciting. And you all we all have multiple things that we are doing. But what is, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to ask this as an actual question, but creativity is something that exists, I believe, in everything that we do. But how do we level up when it is a creative endeavor in and of itself? So how do we make that distinction? Ella, what is a creative endeavor?
I feel like that's such a broad question. What is a creative endeavor? I mean, any endeavor, I guess, could be creative, but in the context of what it is that I do, a creative endeavor, do you mean like somebody wanting to do something creative, or do you mean like endeavoring to be creative, or like what in the I don't know how to answer this question.
Okay, so I think a creative, whereas in all endeavors have some element of creativity, I think a creative endeavor has the creative element as a priority. So if someone else wants to jump in,
I'll try.
Yeah, go ahead. I am my brain is not completely here.
I'll just say what I thought of first, and then we'll go like when you said that, immediately I thought like something that you're creating out of your head from scratch, or is inspired by something you've seen that's completely new and original, as opposed to, and it can also be anything, like a live event, like a virtual event, like all of those things could be creative endeavors, but something that you've either experienced or seen that you want to do in your own flavor, adding your own flavor to some type of project that no one's ever seen before.
I like that. That answer works for me.
Okay.
In going from the what doesn't exist before, or your spin on it. Absolutely. What do you think, Chari?
I was similar to what was just said. Like I basically think that creative endeavors are the itch that you have to do something, to use your voice and express it in a way that is unique to what your capabilities are. It could be a lot of different things. For me, it's cartooning, and some people it's writing, and some people it's film, and some people are podcasting, or interesting types of event planning. Everything has its flair, but it's like what speaks to you, and how do you want to say it?
I think and it goes back to, as creatives, and what I was saying with Jess before, it's really easy to put other people's projects first. But when you're working on your own creative endeavors, it gives you a little extra zing, a little extra juice. Ella, are you prepared to add your 2 cents?
I'm prepared to add my 2 cents. I mean, along with what the ladies were saying, there is an element of creativity to everything that we do, which is what I was saying before. But for someone that is trying to put something out into the world, I'm thinking of someone that I was just talking with today, briefly, and they have some things that they are wanting to get out into the world, but sometimes it is hard, even though they themselves are creative. It is hard for them to see how to execute the creativity that they want to create because the creativity happens to be outside of their wheelhouse. But they endeavor to bring their creativity into the world in a way that they have never done before. So they are looking to be able to have help with that. And sometimes we as creatives, we need that. Sometimes we're too close to the problem to be able to see how to create creatively.
And sometimes it's something they haven't done before, and sometimes it's something that hasn't been done before, right?
True that, especially when it's something that hasn't been done before. But when I think that I'm thinking about someone that I interviewed last week, and his answer to a similar question of how I asked him, how in the world did he have the audacity to do the things that he'd done up to now without thinking that he may fail? And he said, I just never thought about failing it. I just never had that inkling to think that the possibility existed for me to fail. When people would pose that question, like, well, how are you going to get this done? Well, how are you going to get that done? I don't know. Like, for instance, he said, how are you going to get chairs into this new venue that you're supposed to get? Do you even know where to get chairs? He said, I don't know. I guess you just call the chair people. I don't know.
That's exactly right. He's exactly right. That's what you do.
So
It is that easy,
right?
You jump out of the airplane and you build the parachute on the way down.
Exactly. And now he has a business that he created. He is now the one and only impersonator convention that happens in the States. It's been going for 20 years. And when he started it, people were like, what do you mean? Yeah, exactly. Right.
I need to go to that immediately.
It is happening.
It
is happening in September. Oh, among the things when you asked me about my background, I was an impersonator. I was a Tina Turner impersonator.
That's what it is. That's who it is. Seriously, I was like, when you were talking, when she asked you about your performance, I was like, it's not Maya Angelou, but there is something. I almost expected you to like burst into soliloquy. I was like, whose dramatic voice sounds like her? That's who it is. It's Tina. She was always, when she would always be so like sensually expressive. I can't explain it any other way, but wow, amazing. I can totally see that, Ella. Wow. Amazing.
Well, thank you. Well, the convention is in September, I believe, but I will get those exact dates for you.
Where? Do you know what city?
It's in Orlando. Yeah, it's in Orlando every year.
Okay.
It's in Orlando every year.
We're gonna have such a good time. Okay.
Oh yeah, you will, and it's open to the public. It is such a great event, and now he's the one and only impersonator convention. He's the last one standing.
The only one you need, I'm sure.
Exactly.
I feel like I need to do an impersonator GoalChat live leading up to that.
Everyone has one impersonation that they do or think they can do. I think, you don't have one. Shari's like, don't ask me. No,
nope. I know people do impersonations but not me.
well, our mutual friend Noah Bleish just posted a yay Chari Pere. Noah's the founder of the T-Book. So whereas Chari may not impersonate other people, she does creative cartoon puns. Caricatures. I knew there was a better word than creative cartoon puns, but caricatures for this tea brand. So you are the visual representation. Ella and her posse are the actual embodied.
I do parodies. I interned at Mad Magazine in college, and like I do the parodies, the non using my voice version of all the things.
It's amazing.
Hey, that is a complete and definite skill to be able to. I can draw, but I can't do impersonation. I can't draw caricatures. That's a whole
way.
other piece of the brain.
And you all have your very specific skill set. Can we do just a real quick round robin how to about how to get started? And we can start with you, Chari. So if someone endeavors to be more creative in the cartoon illustration space, how do they do that? I say this as someone who, when I did events for Barnes & Noble years ago, I did a poster for something for the kids department, and someone said, "This is great, you had a kid draw this poster." No, it was me. So how does one who wants to draw, cartoon, illustrate, what is step one for that?
I mean, first of all, draw, because the more you practice, the better you get. Like, I was told to take a sketchbook and draw everything that you see. I used to, when I was younger, I would like watch TV and pause stills and then copy the stills or just draw while I was watching. But right now there's so many different ways to gain classes online. Between Lynda.com became LinkedIn Learning, and then there's people like Steven Silver, who is a really phenomenal cartoonist. He designed Kim Possible, among other animated greats, and people like him have really great classes that you can sign up for. But really, I mean, I give workshops on how to create comic strips. So my forte is how to make a comic. So what I do is that write down ideas, I have a Google Doc where I have running ideas at all times. And then, you have to write your script. You have to write what your visual cues and words are going to be, because they're very different. And I guess, with cartooning, there's the drawing element and the writing element. And when you combine them to tell comics, you want to have, you don't want to have like a say. You don't want to say, oh, the dog is running and the dog barks, and then the dog is literally running in the illustration. You don't want to include. You just want to include a little bit of words, and then the illustration should double what should build upon what the art is. So read a lot of books. It'll be like graphic novels are really great to learn from. So I like, you can read, you can write. And then when you draw, like just draw. I just gave a workshop for my job that I work on, and I tell people, like, people are afraid to put pen to paper. It's very intimidating to have a blank space. And what's great is that when you do art and you do something that you're not really used to, you really dare yourself to put yourself out there. And every time you put pen to paper, you really grow more. And for me, I work on the tablet. I work on my iPad on Procreate a lot, and it's really great to have that liberty to go wherever I want, not worry about ink running out. Yes, battery, but usually you get battery charged anywhere. It's not like you're stuck. You have no art store. It's a lot easier to get a charger than it is to get paper or pen from an art store that's not as local. So you can really take your work with you anywhere. So anybody who's interested in doing art, just take an iPad. I have a lot of friends who say that it's a lot more fun to do caricatures on subways with iPads, because people assume that you're reading instead of sketching and it freaked out. So I mean, really just practice writing and practice drawing. And I went to the School of Visual Arts for college, but there are definitely places that you can find online to take skills to the next level if you want. It's hard to explain how to take your art to the next level in 2 minutes.
No, the question was first steps, and you gave like 10 first steps, which I love. And I also like the distinction it looks like you're reading when you're drawing people. So that's hilarious. So whatever you can do to mask it. But I think this may be a common theme, practice makes better. Jess, for people who want to start a podcast, how do you shove them into that creative endeavor? What are those first steps?
Yeah, so a podcast can be many different things. They're not all creative. I mean, there are elements of creativity in each podcast, but for example, if it's I guess they are kind of all creative. It depends on, I guess, what your topic's about. But we do stress when we're consulting people who are starting a podcast to try and sound unique, have the intro be unique, the cover art be unique so that it's easily found and draws eyes in that tiny little square that people are looking at either on their phone or however they listen. The worst thing that you can do as a podcaster is try and mimic or copy someone else. And for the longest time, it was the most common form of podcast was successful man's podcaster, audience, like they would try and carbon copy it. And it was a disaster. It was for every other consultant, it was a disaster. In every way, branding, questions being asked, it was dreadful. So, I mean, but also you wouldn't believe how difficult it is to convince people to be themselves, not their. I mean, it sounds so easy, right? Because I used to be when I would see consultants that say, I'll teach you to be authentic, and I was like, how are you gonna? I'm already authentic. I'm not pretending. This is all you get, But but it actually is we are so multifaceted. And when people are doing, for example, a true crime show, how can you make it your creative endeavor? Is it where you gossip about the people on the way? Are you doing it like a newscaster because you used to be a newscaster? Are you, is it funny and you're making it funny? There's so many different ways to just do every genre that, I sort of have to get to know the person or have them share a little bit with me, and then I can sort of weave their individuality into any kind of show.
I love that comment. Let me teach you how to be authentic. Isn't that
Thank
most
you. How it just makes no. I've always hated that because I thought you can't teach me how to be me, and what are you going to teach me how to be? It just makes no sense, but it is a needed skill. But I don't think it's to be authentic. What it is to have courage. I got to write this down. This is good. Because what people are doing, hold on. They're not necessarily not being authentic. They're just afraid to be fully weird or fully serious or fully funny or fully exasperated or fully sweet or fully likable, whatever it is. I mean, and like I said, we're multifaceted people. So some of us can sound like we're doing a news report, but also make it funny or, or like Ella she can do anything you want. She could do her own podcast as Tina Turner if she wanted. Right? I mean, you can do anything, but how can someone else teach you how to be you? There's no lesson. You just have to, I don't want to say let your freak flag fly because it doesn't even have to be freaky. Just put all the flags out is what I think. All the flags, the freaky ones, the nice ones, the pretty ones, the dirty ones, just hang them all up and wait and, and hope for something good. That's all you can do.
Well, you want to be yourself amplified for sure. And I was mentioning my blogging book, Right on Blogging, that I wrote many years ago. And a lot of it is still, I like to think, evergreen. But the bottom line, and those who know me know I'm also obsessed with food. I do a food podcast, Taste Buds with Deb. But in the book, so whatever we want to call this foreshadowing, I think I use that as an example. There are a gazillion people who love food, who are food bloggers, but only you are you. Same thing with podcasters. There are a
Try having
gazillion
it
people
share. Yes, that's
who
true.
want to put their
And now
information out in
everyone's
the
frozen, but-
world.
Uh-oh. Are we here?
I
Are we
love that.
there?
Yeah, I'm here. Are
Is
you
it
still
me?
taking notes of yourself? I love this. Your job is to be you in a way so people see you for the unique you that you are. And hopefully Jess will return after
Yeah.
her technical difficulties. So Ella, I don't know, you want to talk about your unique creative endeavor in terms of hosting an event, or do we want to go back to talking how to be a impersonator? And when I was on your show, Andrea Tyler was on, who's Adele,
Right.
and I'm hoping to have her on an ep in the near future. So for people who want to do events, make them unique, stand out, creative, what are their first steps?
Well, one of the things that I continue to see, we've all seen it. You've seen it. I've seen it. And it's a matter of, hey, Jess.
I lost internet for a second. Sorry.
But the thing that I continue to see is that people continue to walk into their virtual event platform, i.e., Zoom, which happens to be my favorite platform, PS, and forget to put out the tables and chairs and all the branding, and then wonder why their event looks exactly like everyone else's. If I walk into a Hilton hotel room and event space that was given to me by the event planner and didn't put up any tables and chairs or lights or anything, that would be a blank, boring space. And when it comes to virtual events, you have to be thinking about all the things that you can do to make your event stand out. Now, that stuff that I'm talking about is bells and whistles, but foundationally, the first thing that has to be done, the first step that I encourage people to take is think about what your overall outcome is for your event, because there are those that will tell you that you should do this step, you should do this step, you should do this thing, you should add that thing. And with doing all those things, they may be good. They're all good little tactics, but if they have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on with your event, then they're just that's all it is a cute little tactic, and it won't get your goal accomplished, whatever it is that may happen to be. Maybe it is that you want to simply get more leads. Maybe it is that you want them to actually purchase a program afterwards. Maybe it is that you're trying to show them more about your company. Maybe you are trying to do a workshop or training. All of those things require different pieces to be put into the event to make that event a success. But if you haven't thought beyond, well, this particular platform can give me polls and I can do a whiteboard. Well, but why? Why are we doing polls in a whiteboard? Are we doing it just because it's there? Because that's literally what all of the platforms are touting. We've got whiteboards and polls, and we have AI. Okay, great. That's fabulous. What do I need to? What is that going to do for me and my audience? So I encourage you to do that. Think of that as a first step before you start incorporating all of the little tidbits that are being thrown at you for said event.
So I don't know if you all realize this, but everything that you all have said kind of paints a complete picture, right? So in Deb method, the D is determine your mission. You can't get what you want unless you know what that is. Really in alignment with what Ella was just saying. So whatever the creative endeavor, why are you doing this? What do you hope comes from it? And then Jess's, how do you make it unique? How do you be the most amplified, brave version of you that you show to the world? And then we'll bring in Chari plotting it out. You need to know what you're doing, yes, but you also want the through line, the storyline. So I feel like, and I love doing this. So I love bringing people who don't know each other together, who, need to be friends, clearly. In this case, I feel like no one else saw the beforehand, but mission accomplished before we even went live. But also, and I forgot where I was going with this, it doesn't matter what the creative endeavor is. And maybe the endeavor isn't so creative. Maybe it's just a project that you bring creativity into it, but you need all the elements and how they work together. Jess, I feel like you want to say something.
No, I just am fidgety, and as a result, I'm embarrassing myself, and you can tell by my facial expressions. Like I've already lost an earbud, bang the mic. Like I just, I need like like a floof or something to fiddle with so that I can stop banging on my desk. I don't think, I'm trying not to make noise, but it keeps happening anyway. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's
We
just
like you.
my natural state is what the Jews call spilkus. I'm just always spilkusy. I got ants in my
Well,
pants.
it leads to a really good question, though. I mean, we've got all these elements in getting creative endeavors out in the world, but the other part is focus, because there are always a million things that are pulling you.
Mhm.
And we were talking about before, and for me, it's so I love, and I write nonfiction. I love my book, Your Goal Guide, because it really is a roadmap to figure out what you want and how to get it. And I always have different projects that I'm working on, but I also help people with their writing projects because, rein them in, give them focus, give them the mission so they get to that accomplishment. But I always have a creative fiction in something that I'm working on that I
Mm.
will admit that I never spend nearly enough time on because I have a gazillion other things. So, what tricks do you have to stay focused, especially in the service of prioritizing yourself? Because it's really easy to just work on other projects and clients. We need to prioritize us, or else our stuff clearly never gets done. Thoughts?
I don't think I have a tool that does this effectively. Like I don't have I have Google Tasks and I separate them into lists, which is like medical shit, she podcast shit, event shit. Like sorry to be not sorry for my français, but
I think we're
like
searching that. We're cool.
some days I prioritize money making tasks. Other days I prioritize what can I blast through at top speed and get done quickly because it's been waiting so long. Sometimes it's like, what kind of like administrative stuff can I do because I didn't get enough sleep last night and I'm not that bright today. Like, I just sort of go with like, what's the best vibe of the day. But I wish I had a natural, I mean, I've downloaded every app about productivity and focus and put it on my task and let it try and like schedule it out for me. And I don't know that it's possible to focus me. Do you guys ever feel like that too, where it's just like there's just too much?
I feel
can't.
I understand where you're coming from when I'm thinking I have so many recent examples. I'm very happy with myself right now. I have
Yay.
so example today. I had desires and goals to get there are always a billion bajillion things on the list that need to get done. And today, all of the things did not get done. That being said, there were things that I focused on, and there were some times that I really just did not focus. But the thing I wanted to add to Jessica's explanation for what it is that she's having, talking about with lack of focus, I think the thing that we have to give ourselves, and I am someone that has ADHD, so focus is a it's a
Hard work.
focus can be easy when we're hyper focused on what we want to hyper focus on. That being said, coming to this in my late age, I now understand what it is that's going on with my brain and give myself grace. So, for the fact that I didn't get all the things done today, old pre knowledge ADHD Ella would have been really, really upset with the fact that the things didn't get done. I would have beaten myself up. Oh, once again, I didn't do it all. I said I was going to do it, and I didn't even do it, and blah, 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 all the things. But knowing she has ADHD, Ella tells herself, actually, you actually did accomplish quite a lot today. No, it wasn't all the things that you wanted to get done, maybe not even half, but you actually accomplished things today, which means that you can continue to accomplish things tomorrow. And I wanted to bring up something for you, Jessica, that I will admittedly tell you that with my ADHD, I bought it and I haven't used it yet, but it might help you.
I mean, that's the next thing is like I download all the things and I use it for one day and I'm like, and then I throw it out.
So here's the thing I bought sometime last year.
Ooh, the anti-planner. Oh,
right?
Well, I just love anything oppositional too.
Right?
So,
So it's not it's the anti-planner how to get shit done when you don't feel like it.
okay.
And the
right
thing
now.
is that it has tools and tactics in here. It's not a planner in the sense that like write your stuff down. So for instance, it has all these beautiful little tabs, right? So we can say today I think I've heard us say this a lot. You're feeling overwhelmed. That's the feeling that you're having. That's the reason why you feel like you can't get things done today. So you go to the tab that is literally says overwhelmed, and then it gives you like it asks you, how are you feeling? Are you feeling intimidated, overwhelmed? Are you feeling overcommitted, overwhelmed? Are you feeling panicked, overwhelmed? Are you feeling burnt out, overwhelmed? And some examples of what you may be saying into yourself in your head. And then after you figure out what your overwhelm looks like, you can go through, maybe it's intimidated, overwhelmed. Then there are some tools and tactics for what you can do. So it has like in the contents of intimidated, you can try a Pomodoro timer.
So good.
Write down the task, or maybe you can do a procrastination hit list, a speed run, time check, like all of these different tools that you can use to help you overcome whatever ails you.
I want to buy this for everyone in my family. Like everyone in my family, my son, my husband, we all need one of our own of these.
It is, and you see how hefty it is.
It looks amazing. Yes.
It's by a cartoonist. It's by a cartoonist. So it's all these cute little doodles and things. I mean, like, look at this cover. Look at that.
It's gorgeous. I love the gold. I love everything about it. I'm going to get one right now.
Yay. You feeling unmotivated?
So funny.
And if you are listening to the audio, you can just Ella's basically
antiplanner.com.
Looking at antiplanner.com. What I was gonna say before we jump on over to Chari, I think your non-plan, Jess, actually works well, because if you are feeling unmotivated, you can do the rote things get done. So going with the gut usually doesn't steer you wrong.
Can I add to that real quick? The other thing that I would say to you, Jessica, too, and this is for everybody, I think that we tell ourselves that because somebody else did something one way, that we must be able to do it that way. And the thing that I have come to realize over this last couple of years, having now known what my brain does, it is much easier for me to stop comparing my way of getting things done to somebody else's way of getting things done or not getting things done. So the way that it works for me may not work for you. For some people, you may need to have a book with 50 billion things written down. For me, that causes me overwhelm. I want just one thing at a time. For someone else, you may need to watch a video. You have to figure out what works for your brain and then give yourself the grace, like I was saying before, to utilize what works for your brain and not be sad or mad with yourself for somebody else's tool or tactic not working for you the way that it works for them.
Thank you so much. That's super helpful.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so with you on that. And so the subtitle of this is inspiration and motivation. We're not saying do everything we say. We're saying pick what you think will work for you, try it. And then if it doesn't, try something else. Do more of what works, less of what doesn't, to get you to realizing your goals. So, it goes back to that person from before. I'm still stuck on, I can teach you how to be authentic. Everybody's journey is different. So when you own your journey, that's a step in the right direction for sure. Chari, tips on how to focus?
It's really funny because I just had a whole conversation today about how, like, we're talking about the million things going on. Like, where do you focus? How do you do that? And the good thing about something that I do creatively is that I write and draw. So there's some days, I mean, I don't remember which one of you said it before. It might have been, no, I think it was Ella. Like, some days your brains are just not working. I can't write. Like, I just don't feel like writing. So I can draw. Those are the days where I put on a show on the TV while I'm working and like get in the zone and I just focus in that way. And then there are times where I'm like, ugh, I can't draw today. I don't know what's going on. My hand's just tired. So then I'll sit there and I'll do the writing more. So I guess I try to see what my skill set is feeling at that moment. Although deadlines take precedence. So somehow I'm able to like get everything together when there's a deadline, that everything works well when you gotta do it. This is more of like, oh, there's a deadline at the end of the week. Where do I start right now? Basically deadlines, immediate projects, today I felt off. It was a crazy weekend, so I just went out for a walk. Sometimes you just need to get out and reset, and maybe the answer for creativity is stepping away altogether. It wasn't raining today and the sun was out, so got to take advantage of that on the East Coast. So the answer to focusing depends on the person and also depends on the day and in the minute. So, it's just going with the gut and going with the flow.
And again, I feel like everything everybody said is building upon one another. Go with the flow. Don't drive yourself crazy. Do what you can, and then celebrate all the wins. Even the little ones, because that's whenever I do a goal setting workshop, I always start with, okay, let's everybody share your win. So if I'm doing a workshop for a company, it'll be like, okay, what was your big work accomplishment or your personal accomplishment? And you use that as the fuel to figure out what you want to accomplish next. So all of the above, ditto asterisks, yes, but remember to celebrate yourself and also schedule the uptime, the work time, but also schedule the downtime, because I think, especially as creative people where the brain doesn't turn off, it's really easy to keep going past when you think you should. Anybody else resemble that remark?
I don't know who you're talking about. I think that is the thing I was saying before. I know Jessica was saying she has ADHD too. That's the flip side of the coin. We can, as ADHDers, we can be super hyper focused and go beyond the point of no return, and we can be equally as apathetic about things and go days where we just can't get stuff done. Like nothing, there is no willpower in the world that will bring it together.
Yeah. It's
And
like
then
trying
again,
to ride a stubborn. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, and then I just say again to myself when those things happen, I keep having to say, I've said it again, I'm going to say it again. You just have to give ourselves grace to work through that and know that, okay, we didn't get it done for the last couple of days. We'll hit it on it today.
Yeah, I kind of just realized it's sort of like riding a stubborn horse. Like the hyper focus is amazing and you can get so much done. So like imagine if you do feel like the hassle of saddling up and jumping on top of a horse so that you can ride far and fast, then that's your day. But not every day you want to do that, even though it's there waiting for you. So you almost have to be like, okay, today we're just going to trot around the fence because like I can't unleash you today, because if I do, nothing else will happen. I mean, there are so many things that I could hyper focus on if I let myself, and maybe I would get a ton of stuff done, but on what that's important? There's no, it's like you can't control if the horse needs to eat or drink. Like it's just going to go. So you do have to tame it a little bit. I mean, or just not use it at all, which is a crime because it's a superpower.
It really is.
Yeah. So
Really
I work on that. I work on that too. It's like, can I hyper focus on the thing I don't feel like working on? Never, ever. Right? You just have to chip that one.
Unless there's a deadline.
That's true. Deadlines do, and yes,
they do.
They do impose hyper focus. Thank God, too.
The other thing that Chari said, something that I'm a huge fan of, is alpha and beta projects. So even if you aren't writer and artist, so you have those two different things, but if you're like you're writing a book and working on the book proposal, similar but different skill sets, one day you're going to feel like working on one, and then you've got something to hop over onto if you hit a standstill on something else. So whatever you're working on, and it's even better. It's great when they're in tandem, but sometimes it's even more fun when one of them has nothing to do with anything else you're doing, because then you make progress. And I think that's the other thing about creative endeavors. A lot of them are passion projects, side hustly things that do not get the grace and attention they deserve or that you wish that you could give to them. But even prioritizing them for an hour a week or a half hour, a couple times a week, you're going to get somewhere. If you're, I always say, you can think about your creative projects every day. If all you do is think, it's cheating. But if you're working on them at least a couple days a week, you're going to make progress and eventually get to the destination.
Right. And even if you don't feel creative, I mean, research and reading and stuff like that is a part of the process. So there might be times like, I don't feel like making anything. Plop, I'm going to watch a TV show to research the genre, or I'm going to pick up a book, or I'm going to do a Google search and put what I find on a Google Doc. Like there's different things you can do without even being proactive and using your resources.
Right. I think that what you said about the using the TV time as the research time, I think that's one of the things that I love the most about my earning my degrees, which are both of them are in voice, but the second one, especially in commercial voice, it was not weird for me to be sitting down back in the day when CMT and MTV and VH1 actually had videos. It was not weird for me to right not weird for me to just sit down in front of the TV, and that it really was research. And while it was fun, and it was also releasing the endorphins and all the things from getting the excitement of watching what they were doing, it definitely was time for me to be able to see what other artists were doing and how they moved on the stage, and how they held the mic. I'm not going to lie, I have definitely used some of Taylor Swift's moves when I'm on the stage, because if you watch that girl, she is a study in perfection of performing. So I'm like, look, notes duly noted. I will use that microphone move.
It's powerful.
It really is. It really is.
It's also about, you talk about giving yourself grace. There's little things that you can do you don't even realize that you're doing. So a lot of people complain about having commercials on Netflix. I don't have it yet on Netflix, but there's other streaming platforms that I have that have commercials. But I do advertising, so people are like, oh, I hate that. That's research for me. So watching the commercials between the shows, the little things like that's doing work that you can give yourself a pat on the back for not skipping forward, because there you do more things that are creative, even in slight ways, that you even realize every day.
Mm-hmm.
I love that anything and everything can be researched, because it's true. I mean, for podcasting as well, right? Oh, what did you do today? I listened to a dozen different podcast apps. It's research, because it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so long as we implement it at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even every part of even like finding like the commercials in the podcast, like there's little things that you can, every little bit of it can be dissected in some form, which also makes it exhausting, but still it's still work. Sorry.
Well, what I was going to say is this feels like a really good time to gift some goals to our audience. So dealer's choice, anything goes, but what is something anyone can do today, tomorrow, immediately to get those, get some progress on those creative endeavors? Sherry, do you have a goal to gift? And it can't be research. That's the bonus goal, because you're all going to say it.
Oh, God, no. I find that stepping outside your box is a good way, doing something that's different, whether it's taking a walk or trying something different. than to get your creativity going. And something, if people look at something specific, I just gave a workshop to, I mentioned I gave a workshop recently to people who aren't necessarily cartoonists, and try it. Try writing a box. Make your own box. I can, if anybody needs a sheet, I can give you a sheet, and then try to make your own comic. And this is something that you're not used to doing. And write a line and do your drawings and present it to someone. And something like that really gets your brain thinking in ways that you don't normally do. And it gives you like the courage to talk about your work. There's a lot of different things going there. So if you're stuck, like try something totally different than what you normally do. You might like it.
Because unless you try new things, you're never going to know what you stumble on is going to be amazing for you. Ella, what goal would you like to gift?
I would say for those of you that are thinking about, first I'm talking to the person that is thinking they need to do a virtual event, but they're not sure what they should do first, or if they should even do it, if it's going to even be viable, how am I going to make all the money? Instead of thinking about all of that, I would encourage you first to just write down what you want to have happen. Just write down, if you were to do it, what would be the hopeful outcome of that particular event. Just write that one thing down. Don't even think about all the other pieces. Write that one thing down. And then after you write that one thing down, let it rest. Let it rest. Because you'll start to see after you write it down, the cool thing is, and Deb, I'm sure you've probably talked about this before. There's an insanely cool thing that happens once we start to write things down. And I'm talking about physically write it down. I don't know why it works better when you put pen to paper or pen to digital board, but the act of physically writing does something with our reticular activating system. It doesn't work the same for whatever reason when you're typing it down. I guess it has to do with the noodling. But when we write those things down, suddenly our brain realizes, oh, this is what you want us to focus on? Because that's what the reticular activating system is for. It is specifically to help block out the things that you don't need to be focusing on and focus you in on the things that you do need to be focusing on. So you're not distracted by every tree that passes you down the road. I mean, as beautiful as nature is, when you're trying to drive, you don't need to be looking at every single bud on every single tree. I'm gonna need you to keep on driving straight forward and not hit anybody else in front of you. That's the beauty of the reticular activating system, right? But when we write something down, now we've given it a directive, and it starts searching for the answers. It starts searching for the pieces that will potentially help to bring that event that you're talking about to be. But if you haven't written it down first, your brain is still kind of like, either it's not paying attention to it at all, or you're in a tizzy with overwhelm of like, well, I can do this and I can do that. Once you write it down, suddenly things start showing up. People start showing up. I start showing up. Hey. To help you to bring that thing together. You don't need to know how to make it happen, but you do need to know what. Nothing can happen until a what.
Well, you're speaking my language, because you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. I know I say this every week. It's true. But give yourself also the time and the energy to figure out what you want so you can bring it into reality. Jess, what goal would you like to gift?
So I had a similar one to Ella, which was to not just write the thing down that you want to happen, but like brain dump all the stuff that is swimming around up there. So I was going to say, make a list. If you're going to do a podcast, make a list of all the possible episode topics. If you're going to do a book or write a story, write down what you already know about each character. Maybe that's all you know is the character. I want to write a book about this guy I met today. Like, just write down everything you are thinking or know about the character. But I don't want to take hers because it's obviously brilliant. So So I would say, okay, a mini goal for someone. I think a mini goal would be to, and I don't want to use research either, but I will say look up what other people are doing in whatever genre you're stepping into, and like mentally note or write down what it is you don't like about it. How can you do it better? Why can you do it different? I mean, almost all the things I've decided to do creatively, I've done because I watched someone else and went, ugh, oh my God. Or that's not funny. What happened to me is more funny than that. Or I can draw something better than this. Or I can do an event with, it looks like no work at all, whatever it is. I would say, like, watch somebody do what you want to do badly or or even mediocrely or even great, but isn't your style, so that you can feel more like this is going to be mine. I'm going to own this for me, you know?
I love that because, and there's such a good lesson in that too. Don't always look for, the Taylor Swift moves. Look for the way that you can improve upon anything and or just make something that's out there your style, your way to do things. No, I think it's great. And again, everybody's goal really building up on everyone else's. If you are having trouble figuring out what you want and how to get it, you can always grab a copy of your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals if you need help with that focus for what's next for you. But one thing that I say all the time is write it down. Get the ideas out of your head and onto the page, because you can't make a plan in your head. You can try, but when you get it out of your head and you could see, it really is magic the way you could put the pieces of the puzzle together.
It really is.
I hope you all have been having as much fun as I have. Before we wrap, where can people learn more about you and all that you do? Ella, go first.
Well, directly you can go to my website, beyondvirtualevents.com, and you can poke around there and see what I have to offer. If you want to come and peep me for a second and see what it is that I'm up to on the sly, then you can come and see me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I hang out. And I'd love for you to follow me over there, be a part of what it is that I'm doing over there. And if you want to get a taste of what it is I do in the virtual event space and what makes what I'm doing different than what other people are doing, then I encourage you to come to my bi-monthly event, which is in Zoom, my favorite platform, called the Business Breakout. And you can get tickets to that. The next one actually is Wednesday. The next one is Wednesday. It's on the first and third Wednesday of every month. But it gives you the opportunity to watch me produce an event live and in front of you. You get to be a part of the event, should you choose to be. I won't force you to do it, but you can be a part of it. And then after everything is said and done, I'll break things down for you so you know what is it that I did. What did I do on the show, and how can you apply it to your event, or how can I help you with your next event?
Amazing. Jess, we're going to have you do double duty. Where can people learn more about you and your final thought? And then we'll go to because I know you've got a scoot.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave your broadcast, but I mean, I know I can hear impatience happening from beyond.
So where can people learn more about you and She Podcast and everything?
Right now, you can learn about me at shepodcast.com. I'm building other assets. I'm personally, I'm on all the channels as Jess Kupferman, Kup as in Paul, F as in Frank, ERMAN. But otherwise, She Podcast is perfect.
Excellent. And when I do the show notes, which you can get at thedebmethod.com/blog, I will put in everybody's links as well as their LinkedIn, because that really is the best first place to connect with everyone. Jess, you want to give a quick final thought and then we'll round
I'll
about back?
leave and you can go to Sharon. Yeah. Final thought. Just, if you're in the process of stifling your own creativity because you think you I mean, I do this sometimes where I feel guilty doing something fun and creative because I have other things to do. Your life is meant to be enjoyed. Maybe just indulge it once in a while. That's all I wanted to say. And I'm so sorry to leave, but thank you so much for having me. It's been delightful. Love meeting you ladies too. Thank you.
Jess, I love your glasses. I need to say that I've been thinking it the whole
Thank you.
time.
Yes, same. Same. I was waiting till afterwards to say hi. But since, yeah, I concur.
It's Zeelool, Zeeelool. They're my favorite. They have all the cool ones.
Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate you jumping on. We will have to have you back. It was great reconnecting, connecting.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
thank you,
Thank you so much.
Jess.
All right, see you guys soon. Bye, Sharon. Sorry to, yeah. Bye.
So, Sherry, where can people learn more about you? And then we'll play the final thought game with you guys.
Yeah. Well, there's my website, charipere.com, CHARIPERE, because my name does not sound like it looks. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram at Chari Pere Art, CHARIPEREART. I mentioned there's going to be some updates that haven't been posted yet, but in the coming months, I'll be releasing some more of my first animated shorts based on my work, which I've directed a lot of commercials and 15 30-second commercials for social media, and I've never directed my own art, so it's pretty crazy seeing my own comics coming to life. Noah Bleish also hopped on earlier and said a shout out. I've designed 12 now teas for his company, the Tea Book. My most recent one was just released like last week, 2 weeks ago. Haven't even tried it yet, but it's the Statue of Liberty. Right before that, I also had a recent release of Alexander Hamilton. So those are really fun. So if you like teas, or if you know anybody who's a nerdy tea drinker who, it's a really great gift. As far as final thoughts, I mean, look, being creative is really it's great and it's challenging, and I love the thoughts to give ourselves grace, because we don't do that enough with everything going on in life. It's so easy to be distracted, not just in our work, but in what's around us. One thing I didn't mention before is that, like, I personally happen to like having a full-time work to help focus, because like then I can do what I want when it's not not there. Not like if I don't have the opportunity to do what I love full time, it's nice having like something steady to keep me going. But I guess like that was not a final thought. That was just something I mentioned earlier. But my final thought is really, it's all about I guess just it's all about just having fun, and whatever that means. So if something is too hard, then maybe like maybe that's not the right way for you, and to go with the flow. Sometimes the door is really hard for a certain reason, and maybe because another door is meant to open. So I spent most of my career trying to be a comic strip artist, and everything's just been really, really since I graduated from college, and that was my main goal. The industry has been really tough, and so I turned to advertising, and it led to like animation, and you never know which doors open when you stop trying so hard to make the square peg in the round hole. So just go with the flow, see where opportunities are taking you, and go with what feels right. Not necessarily what you want in your head. Go with what feels right now, and see where that leads.
Okay, your last thing got a little muffled, but I think the lesson is go with the flow and see where the opportunities lead.
Go with the flow. Oh, sorry. Am I the only one that loves Finding Nemo the musical?
Ella, do you have a final thought to chime in?
A final thought. Well, I am going to say for the final thought, I mean, I've said it all night long, is to give yourself grace, but also give yourself the grace to move forward. Give yourself the grace to not have done the thing, but also give yourself the grace to do the thing. Because oftentimes, we were talking about earlier with having someone teach you to be authentic. And I didn't have an opportunity to interject this in before, but I'll say this now because I've been through this. Sometimes it's hard to be ourselves because we've been somebody else for so long, we don't know who we are anymore. And I can say that as having been someone who was the Tina Turner impersonator. I did that for about 10 years. And it took me a while to re-find my own, what does Ella sound like, voice. And I am saying to you to give yourself the opportunity to find out the things that you like. Give yourself the opportunity to take on the things that you may have been sitting on, maybe too afraid to do. And if you are afraid of it not being perfect, just go back and watch some of any of our first work. And you will see none of us were perfect in the beginning. As much as we thought we were doing something when we came out, when we go back and look to where we are now, Lord Jesus, we didn't know what we were doing. So, but we did it. But we did it. And I encourage you to step out on that. And if you want some help with stepping out on those things, you need somebody to hold your hand. There's any one of us here that will be willing to hold your hand to help you move past what you may be blocked by. Maybe it's that you don't have all the fancy gear. Maybe you don't have the fancy paper. Maybe you don't know where to get a publisher. Nobody's asking you to know all those things. I will tell anybody and everybody from the beginning, to be polished doesn't mean that you have to have the fanciest things in the world. It just means that you cleaned up your room. Can you just clean up the space around you? That's all we need. Because if you look beyond this frame, look, it ain't clean.
The camera will never focus on what's on this desk.
Exactly.
And as a really good example of what you just said, Ella, when I started this show, this was my first pandemic project, so it was spring 2020. I did 2 episodes of just me talking. They lasted not even 20 minutes. And then I started inviting guests, and by the end of the year, I started doing panels, which is now the format of the show. Life is about trial and error. What speaks to you? What works for you? Embrace it and find ways to move forward, even if it's little bits at a time. You will get there, but own who you are first and foremost and see what you want, because it's out there for you.
Yeah. Can I add to that? Because I'm thinking about now there are people that have done things before, or they're good at XYZ thing, and therefore feel like if they don't super exceed at the thing that they are attempting to do for themselves, because you were talking about doing things for ourselves, right? So before, and I'm thinking about the show, The Business Breakout. Look, if you go back and look at January of last year when The Business Breakout started, take away the fact that Ella's been producing everybody's events for a long time, but the very minute that she decided to produce her own, she decided to go above and beyond what she was trying to do with everybody else's and broke the entire thing. Just go look, it's still there. It's still there for you to see it all broken. I did not take it down. And that is okay, because I'm breaking things on my stuff, so I don't break it on yours. You're welcome.
Chari, do you have anything else to add?
No, I just want to say this has been really fun. Ella, you're great. Debra, you're always great. And no, I look forward to seeing what everybody does with their creative endeavors going forward.
Well, and thank you all. Ella Glasgow, Chari Pere, thank you, Jess Kupferman. Thank you for tuning in. I am at The Deb Method everywhere, and you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog to get the recap and watch the replays. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can also listen new episodes, which is really the audio version of this is released every Thursday as the GoalChat podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network. We are so glad that you've taken the time, my panelists, and also the audience, for embracing the creative future that you want, your creative endeavors. Going out there, go for it, because we know you can do it. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.